In the face of the new world order, which is emerging, especially from the East, where there is a very heavy involvement of the BRICS nations, we can see that there is an emergence of new world leaders who are beginning to stand out as role models to some current world leaders. Today, we want to discuss that and see, the comparison, draw some lines of similarities between certain personalities and certain figures. And the figures we're going to talk about today are Thomas Sankara, the late president of Burkina Faso, and the current transitional military president of Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traore, and then the influence that presidents like Vladimir Putin of Russia and Xi Jinping of China have got on these kind of leaders. Samir said, welcome. And
Thank you. Thank you,
what
George.
do you think about this particular trend that is happening, where we have people who are more lenient towards the likes of Putin, Xi Jinping of China, and then of course, especially in this case of Thomas Sankara and then Ibrahim Traore.
Well, thank you, George. First of all, you're talking of Putin and Traore. I think that every move that the fine gentleman is making, talking of the gentleman from Burkina Faso, is basically based on the what we have in common in history. Go back to history, the Soviet Union, and at the time when Africa really needed, these guys were really there for Africa. And if you forget that, when Kwame Nkrumah was gaining independence for Ghana and he came to power, he went to Soviet Union. So we have a common, should I say, common history over there. So I would say that Traore thinks that, of course, this is the time to make a different international relations. Okay, this is the time to redirect the relationships that Burkina Faso had with the Western countries that didn't really yield anything for them. And even if it did, let them feel. Okay, and we can see that. So clinging to Putin, I believe that it might be the right decision, okay, for Burkina Faso in the sense that the guy is going in for business and of course the military support. Okay, and this time, as we have seen coming from the BRICS, okay, what Putin has been preaching is that we all must eat from the same table. For if we have resources joined together, we all must benefit. It's not going to be okay that just one party is going to benefit. So if you
Mm,
hear the sermon of Putin, of course, definitely any wise leader would want to
mm,
have a good relationship with Putin. Yes, and
okay.
of course, many are saying, but this guy is at war with Ukraine. Who cares? What we need, or what Burkina Faso need now is what? It's a good international relationship whereby the sovereignty of the country will be respected. Okay. And then,
Okay.
of course, the country can move forward. It's been a long time. Yes, it's been a long time. It's long overdue to all. So I believe that Ibrahim Traore is making an interesting move. Of course, he should be careful. And my advice to him that, you see, on that platform, international platform, he should still carry the courage that he has. Okay, not because he's leading with Putin that he's going to. Because if you don't take care, some of these relations can really turn you into a puppet. But I believe that he's a fine gentleman and he knows what he's doing. So yes, it's for the betterment of the country, going for the business and the military support. I mean, that is good. In my opinion, that is good.
Okay. In the recent Russia African summit, which happened before the BRICS, 15 summit in South Africa, this one happened in Moscow, and we saw Ibrahim Traore, talking with Putin, discussing, laying down certain plans. And you made very interesting mention of someone like Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, and we also know that there was huge ties between Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and the Soviet Union at the time. Thomas Sankara in the Soviet Union at the time, like you rightly said, they really supported the African countries and the African liberation movements for independence. And so there is this kind of mutual respect, over
Yeah.
time with respect to these various leaders. And if you take someone like Putin, he's someone that really appreciates history. He's someone that really appreciates, the suffering for independence. Because I think one of the common grounds that we have as African countries and Russia is that we have suffered a lot.
Sure.
We have suffered a lot recently. The Russians were celebrating They were commemorating, one of the most remarkable moments in their history, when they were able to achieve victory in World War II, but it came at the cost of 27 million Russians. 27 million Russians had to die for the whole of Europe to be liberated, and for Russia
Yeah.
to be liberated. And this is something that resonates very, very deeply with the Russian people. And I think, Putin has a lot of respect for that. And I think that is something that can be drawn, or that is something that draws some of these African leaders towards him, you know. And
Sure.
of course, at the time with Thomas Sankara towards the USSR. I think one of the main concerns here is that some people are saying, okay, maybe he has to be careful because the way the CIA was involved in the taking out of Thomas Sankara, because he was too close to the, Soviet Union, with the way they handled the Kwame Nkrumah issue and how they got him kicked out of Ghana, and all of that. So maybe Ibrahim Traore should be very much careful. But I think at this particular moment, maybe he draws a lot of inspiration from someone like Putin, especially in the face of the military exercise that is happening in Ukraine. And he sees how Putin is, exercising his authority, and he's being that kind of leader that is no pushover. Like, hey, I'm not going to allow you to just, throw your weight around and do whatever you want to do with me. I'm also going to retaliate if I find that you are not working or you're trying to impede on my sovereignty. And I think you made mention of that. This is a very strategic relationship between these partners here, where the sovereignty of each one of them is being respected. In fact, during the Russian African summit, there was an observation that I made, which was very interesting. Because, when they had the summit, Samuel can say, the way the discussions were going, if you see how Putin sat down with these African leaders and talked to them like, they were his mates, like, and he really, he showed them that kind of respect, that this is also the president of another sovereign country that we are dealing with here, which is very far different from how we see, how some of these G7 and G20 and whatnot, we go to these meetings and they give commands. The African leaders, especially, are treated like schoolboys. I remember there was this incident when the Queen of England died, and the African leaders were packed in one bus. In one bus.
Well, that's kind of fortunate. I mean, that, I mean, you see, some of our leaders, sometimes I think that they really chose to be treated as such. See, why can't you say no when you know that the thing is really going to cause harm to you and your people? Why can't you say no? What is there? What is exactly there that you feel?
What is there to
You see,
achieve?
yes, you see, if you can't die for your country, then you are not worth it. Why should you be a leader if you can't die for your country? You see, if you have been at the war front, and of course Traore has been there, you see, you are you turn out to be a very disciplined guy. And that is why some of these guys, the Kwame Nkrumah, you see, when Kwame Nkrumah went outside to study, he realized how the black people, okay, are the forgotten people of this world. And this is what Traore said. We are the forgotten people. In fact, when you travel across the globe, you realize that. And he said, no, it's about time we also do something for ourselves so that the world can also respect us. But you see, it's kind of funny how our leaders, in as much as they are treated bad, they still continue on. They want to be feeding their masters.
Yeah, I think
so
it's a paradox
if they were
here.
treated the way they were treated, they deserve that. I thought they
Okay.
could even draw some lessons, okay, from that kind of treatment, but they didn't. At the end of the day, they came doing the same thing. So you see, we thank God that we are having a different crop of leaders, young leaders, of course, okay, and some of them have been at the war front, and they know how it is to lose your life, to put your life at risk. And of course, Putin has been through. You think Putin, he had it on a silver platter? No. So he knows how it is, how difficult it is to really be there. You know that you are going to die, but you have to fight for your country. And this is what he has been doing with Ukraine. He said, no, I'm not going to let you ruin the country. I'm not going to let you, okay, mess up the whole, country.
Threaten the security and sovereignty of the country.
We have sacrificed a lot of lives, Russian lives, okay? We have come this far because of sacrifices some of us made. You are not going to, not because of your mistakes, you are going to mess up our country. No. So you see, this is what some of us should be preaching. And I believe that Traore is really on point. At least at this point, he's on point. He said we are the forgotten people. And he said once, he said, look, we are not enemies of the France. I mean, the France people or the French. We are not. But it is because of their policies, okay, the policies of their leaders, okay, which is not favoring the Burkina base. That is why, okay, it appears that we are fighting them. No. And of course, we are not going to allow, okay, the French continue to manipulate our people. And you see, the interesting thing is that if we check all the coups, okay, go from the Guinea, the Sahel, go from the Guinea, enter Mali, come from let me see, Sudan, yes, Burkina. They have something in common, which is the insecurity. Insecurity. Yes. So the fight against jihadists is their objective. In fact, some of them even believe that France is behind those insecurity in Africa. So that is why some of them demanded that the military guys, the French military guys, should leave, because at the end of the day, they are not seeing what they are doing.
Okay? Yeah, I mean, so what you're saying, what you're saying, you know, comes into the recent reports that came with the fact that countries like, you know, not countries, but organizations like NATO were actively involved in providing for groups like, you know, the Boko Haram and all of that. You know, it's sort of like just to keep them around and then, you know, use them as their mercenaries, you know.
Yes. Yes. Because if not, let me ask you, in Africa, do we produce guns? Do we?
Well, we can produce guns, you know, the kind the hunters take to the forest, you know, those kind of guns. Recently, there was even a report that stated that some of the military weapons that were being provided by the Western countries to Ukraine in this, you know, this confrontation with Russia, some of them ended up in Africa. Imagine the weapon that was supposed to go to Ukraine ended up in Africa, ended up in some, you know.
You see, the continent has suffered.
It's really sad.
I mean, that is it. As I was saying, going to Russia and I mean, trying to build a very good ties with Russia. I don't have issue with that. Okay, I would just advise the guy that he should just be careful, and when he get there, I mean, he should try as much as possible to honor his words. Okay, because from the way he is going, putting Burkina Faso at first is the right way to go.
Okay, interesting. And I think with this new leadership that is especially coming from, you know, the BRICS nations, which is being mainly pioneered by Russia, India, Brazil, you know, China. Yes, there's South Africa, but I don't think that's, you know, South Africa, South Africa doesn't put a lot of sway. They are not convincing to us, especially the current leader of South Africa, you know, Cyril Ramaphosa. We had a lot of hopes in him, but when he came, it's like he's just like the other regular guys. But what I wanted to say was that, you know, on this point that we are making, the recent Russian-African summit that was held in Moscow, what we saw was that there were even some African countries who refused to go, including Ghana, Nigeria, who refused to attend at the behest of their Western masters. You know, they're like, don't go there, don't go and, you know, participate with Russia. Otherwise, we are going to do that and do that and do that. And I really enjoyed the conversation between the president of Eritrea and Putin at the time. And the president of Eritrea made mention of the fact that the Western hegemony had a very, you know, bad influence on Africa. And it has really affected the economy of a lot of African nations. And so he was really urging Russia to really, you know, help in this new world order, to take charge and to put it. And I see that these countries, these African countries, especially in these countries where they are cool, where they have also the assistance of the Wagner group from Russia, who are, you know, tied to the Russian military. And I see that they probably see Putin as, you know, a role model. You know, the leaders of these countries as finding a role model figure. It's like a leader figure, a world leader figure in someone like Putin. I think they have more confidence in him. I think they trust him to deliver. And then I think they also trust his word. It's like they can trust him when he says that he's going to do something. And then they know that when he says he will not do something, he will not do it. I think that line of confidence and trust is something that they are not really getting from their Western partners, and so they are beginning to rethink their strategies. Okay, come on, let's lean towards Putin and then his guys.
Yeah. Because you see, the interesting thing is that Putin, he doesn't really interfere. Okay, he doesn't interfere into your political affairs. He only comes in when you need help. Okay, we need you. Okay, I'll be there. Just count on me. I'll be there. This is different from the Western. The Western, when you have issue, that is when they come and give you sanctions, interfere in your political. They want to make decisions for you. Yes. So you see, the strategy of China, of course, there should be a limit. Of course, there should be a limit, so that in the future we wouldn't have to come back and be fighting Putin again, or fighting Putin and China. Okay, it will all be history by then. But you see, we have to be careful as well. But at least now we have seen that they don't really interfere in political matters. It is only when you call upon them and then they really see that you need help, then they will come in. Even though, I mean, Niger, they said they were going to help Niger. I mean, they went there. They went. Did they interfere? No, their guys.
No, I mean they did. Of course, they didn't go there to interfere in the political system of the country. They went there for security. For security reasons, they were there for security reasons, and they went there for security reasons. They're staying there for security reasons. That is why
we have the word sovereignty. Yes. So that is it. I think that's. I mean, when you talk of international politics, some of these guys, they really understand. Putin is a very good guy. Okay, of course. I mean,
I personally believe that he's a very intelligent guy.
Yes. I mean, we've seen how. I mean, I don't want to go there but he's a very good guy. He's a good guy. At least as it stands now, he's a good guy. Of course, people change, but as it stands now, he's a good guy. And I like the way they are really. I mean, giving their presence on the African continent, not really interfering. That is why I said that we from the beginning should give them limits. Okay, we know that yes, you are a good guy, gentleman. You want to help us. At least these areas we don't want you to go. Simple. Okay. If you call upon us, if you need us for any other stuff, yes, we will also be there. When you call upon you, please be there. But these areas you shouldn't go. Simple as ABC.
The ordinary people, the ordinary Ghanaian, the ordinary Nigerian, the ordinary Burkina Faso, the ordinary Ivorian, the ordinary Congolese, they just want to be happy with their lives. They just want to live a normal lives. They just want to be able to afford their daily bread.
They just want to be respected. They want to be respected.
They want to be respected as human beings. Human beings. And so, I think that's just the bottom line for them. All right. So thank you very much, StudioSixs, and that's going to be it for today.
Thank you.